next weather tower is shining green. That is because we have some severe weather heading our way, including rain and other things, which is why I brought in Joseph, because, yeah, we're in for a little bit of a kind of crazy spring storm.
Yeah, important forecast. So 2 things going on. One, it's Severe Weather Awareness Week. And, of course, just perfect timing by happenstance. We're kicking off strong. We do have a next weather alert in place for later today because we are anticipating around a severe weather later today. So something that we could plan for, at least we're not starting off with it right away. We have all day to kind of work together to come up with a good plan for this afternoon. So this is what I think so far. I'll show you some of the graphics right here. Late afternoon into tonight, and I do think that just about all of the next weather factors are in place for later today. So hail, strong wind, possibly some tornado warnings, so that could happen later today as well. So a little bit of everything, and it's not going to be an event that just like maybe one warning here or there. This is one that could maybe impact a larger swath of the area. So right now we've had some clouds move in, nothing too drastic, maybe a couple showers. I did see a little bit of lightning, just one little thunderstorm passing through the Mankato area earlier, but this isn't going to be the severe weather right here. This might absorb some energy, but I don't think it's going to prevent us from getting storms later. Sometimes that can happen where we have something move in earlier and it soaks up all the energy. And then when you expected a break and storms develop, it doesn't happen. I don't see that happening in this case. I just think this is just going to be some clouds and some rain. Why? Well, we're still going to get a lot of moisture pulling up from the south. You don't see it happening, but you'll feel it today because it's going to get a little humid this afternoon. And then at the same time, Maria, we have some strong winds aloft, and I'm just going to call that wind energy coming from the west. And you kind of put them all together, and as storms develop, the wind will help support those storms. And that is going to be kind of the formula. We're kind of setting the foundation for storms later this afternoon. I like this graphic right here, and you don't necessarily need to know what the thunderstorm fuel is, but essentially it's just heat. It's a lot of heat for us to use. And you'll notice that it really starts to pick up and creep up towards the cities here this afternoon. And I like this graphic because I think it shows the location of the state that is likely to see some of the stronger storms this afternoon. So if we dissect it here, I mean, south of the cities, around the cities, down through Owatonna, out to maybe Blue Earth and Sibley County there, and then into areas of Wisconsin. That doesn't mean we won't see a couple storms drift north of the cities and into some of those counties there, but this is where I believe our strongest storms could develop later today. And so does the Storm Prediction Center that's over in Oklahoma. And so they put out this storm weather outlook and the severe weather outlook, and this is the most recent update. And that severe risk of 3 or 5, which is an enhanced risk, is right there in that same section where we're seeing some of that thunderstorm fuel later this afternoon. So if you're in Dakota County, Goodhue County, LeSueur County, Rice County, Faribault, Northfield, Lakeville, Apple Valley, all in that 3 or 5 risk, including the cities, and then a 2 or 5 risk up to the north. You may have questions. What does the 3 or 5 risk? What does the 2 or 5 risk mean? So essentially, if I go back so you could kind of see the whole thing again, essentially a 3 or 5 risk, enhanced risk, is telling us a couple things. 1, this is likely our greatest threat for severe weather. But 2, this is an area where we could likely have multiple storms set up that could cover multiple areas and multiple counties. And not just that, Maria, but maybe they'll last for a long time, not just like a quick 15-minute storm. These storms might bubble up at 4 p.m. and not dissipate till 6 p.m. 2 hours of severe weather. Versus maybe that 1 of 5 risk that's up north there towards Brainerd. That just means like maybe we'll get one isolated severe storm, and maybe it will only last like 10 to 20 minutes.
I see.
And so the greater the risk or the higher the category, the more widespread severe weather we're expecting, and the more long-lasting severe weather we're expecting.
Perfect. You answered my question.
Yeah, so try to help with that. I know it could be a little confusing. So that is the bullseye area. Anywhere in that red category is where we expect multiple storms tonight, this evening, and for those storms to last for a while. I also want to point this out. You see that very firm line between the orange and the red in northern Hennepin County. You can't get married to that. These storms could drift north of that. These storms could develop north of that. This is just a good idea of where we think those storms could stay. So if you're in Blaine, you should still be definitely ready for severe weather today. All right, so weather models will help show some of this. There's 415. You kind of see a few cells down near Owatonna there, maybe Mankato, those areas. Watch what happens when I put it into 5 p.m. Okay, those really start to blossom.
Yep.
And they start to lift a little bit farther to the north, and then put it into, maybe 6, 7, 8 p.m., and you could really see some significant weather there occurring. Not necessarily up in Brainerd, but again, maybe we'll get a few isolated storms up there, but this is the category of the state that we are most concerned about this evening, okay?
Okay, and again, we're thinking hail, potentially.
So we're thinking a little bit of everything, all right? Large hail is definitely one of our larger concerns. And then potential, I showed you the wind energy. That may take some of the storms and put a little rotation into them, which could lead to maybe some tornadoes.
Okay.
So that's a possibility today. I know it's a scary thought.
Yeah, right.
But if you're ready for it and you're weary of the time frame and you're paying attention to it, then you could really, put yourself in a good position for that. And it's not set in stone. It's just we have a shot for maybe a couple warnings.
Right.
And then damaging wind is also possible.
Right.
So 70 mile per hour wind gusts associated with some of these storms is possible too. You mentioned the hail. I actually have another graphic. This is our damaging hail potential. Ooh. So if you're in that red shade, there's a 30% chance that you could have some damaging hail. And then anything that's in those lines means we could have significant size hail, and more widespread hail damage. So today, due to kind of the organization of some of these storms, we may have larger hail up to the size of maybe tennis balls.
No.
Massive hail.
Wow.
So today, that's our biggest threat, and that's why we have the next weather alert in place today, because we want people to be ready for those type of things.